Hi, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video, I'm going to talk about water. Now, water is the universal solvent. It's everywhere. It's on this planet. It's in space. Anywhere we deem life could exist, it has to have water, right? So, the human body is mainly made out of water. And I kind of see that a lot of people, when they're thinking about going on a healthy uh, intentional living style or a diet of some sort, they just focus so much on food and not enough on water, when really, we can go a lot longer without food than water, and the body is mainly made out of water. So I think the emphasis needs to be based more on the quality of water before you even think about what food you're going to eat when you're wanting to change into a healthier lifestyle, whether that's a diet or just all-round lifestyle. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a couple of types of water. And obviously we know about tap water, and a lot of people have a filter to remove contaminants from their tap water. And so I'm not going to go too much into that. So we know really tap water is not optimal, of course. It's hard water, so it means it's got a lot of total dissolved solids, a lot of inorganic minerals, which are really minerals that the body cannot break down or utilize. They actually come from rocks. And a lot of hard minerals, so like things like calcium carbonate, limestone, and those sorts of things, which cause calcification problems. And it has other contaminants. It's got chlorine in it. Certain areas have got fluoride in it, and also used toilet tissue fibers, which are obviously not ideal because the body itself is a filter, and we need for the body to be working optimal, everything has to flow. And just like our filter, if anybody's got a filter, it needs to be regularly changed, doesn't it? When you're filtering your tap water, well, what about the filters within the body? The kidneys, the liver, all the organs, the blood. Now, all these things depend on flow. And if there's not flow, then there's a health problem. And so if our body gets plugged, then there is an issue. So we have to be aware of these things. So firstly, I'm going to go into spring water. Now, spring water comes from an aquifer that is deep under the earth, its crust, and it's from water that's seeped down through the layers of rock, which consist of just rock material, of zeolites, which is a form of detoxification, also through sand, through carbon layers, and all these sorts of things. And funnily enough, that's how the people that make these filtration devices for our water, that's where they got the idea from, how the earth itself filters the water. And obviously doesn't do as good a job as earth, because the earth knows how to filter water any better than anything else. And as this water seeps down and gradually gets to the aquifer, that water could have been down there for hundreds of thousands of years before pre-industry times. And so that water is very pristine, very clean, and after a period of time, that water levitates. So it actually goes against gravity. And the laws that we have in place in our physics paradigm in regards to gravity is that if anything combats gravity, then friction occurs. But water from these aquifers bypass this law. They use levitational forces to come up from the aquifer up, and when it reaches the surface, the water is ice cold. It's cold. When there's normally friction, there's heat, isn't there? So again, it's absolutely magical, this water. And a lot of the springs, when the water arrives up to the surface, and it bleeds into rivers and streams and stuff. You might have a river that's just perfectly pristinely clear because it's fed by spring. That water will stay the same temperature. It doesn't matter what time of year or what the temperature is like outside. It stays the same. So you could have a day where it's below zero, but the water's still flowing because the water is being fed by the spring. Or a really hot day outside, but the water stays the same temperature. It's absolutely magical because this water is virgin water. This water has structure to it, geometry to it. It's a raw water and it's a living water, and because it's got structure to it, it's in formation. And that's where the word information comes. It holds DNA, it holds information, it holds life to it. Okay, it's a raw water because majority of the water that we drink, we're drinking processed water. We talk about diets, about staying away from processed food and getting into natural food and raw food. Well, what about water? What's the difference between processed water and living water? So there are many factors in play in regards to quality of water. It's not just about how much water they drink, because it doesn't come into play quantity of water, because a lot of this water that doesn't have structure to it, it's not raw, it has contaminants in it. It never gets to the cellular level. You could drink as much as you like of this water. At a cellular level, you'll still be dehydrated. But if you get structured water, then all of a sudden this water will get to the cellular level, and you'll be hydrated on less water compared to drinking the water that's processed out of your taps that you have to drink more of, and you're still becoming dehydrated. So obviously, as it levitates up, it goes through that processing again, where it's going through sand layers, it's going through clay layers, it's going through rock layers, carbon layers, which again is a filter, and which helps remove a lot of those inorganic minerals and a lot of the contaminants that it may have in it. So you get a really good water. Now, a thing with spring water is, though, that it will have some total dissolved solids in it. Okay, and total dissolved is a TDS, and you can actually use a TDS meter to check it, and it measures inorganic minerals. Now, as I said, these are minerals that are parts of rock, because do you know what water does? Water is the solvent. It breaks rocks. Okay, that's what water does. So it breaks the rocks in nature, and all those minerals are in a rock mineral format. Now, we don't absorb rock minerals, therefore they're inorganic, okay? But when we put rock minerals, say, in our soil, our plants uptake that, and then we eat the plant, because the plant has created those rock minerals to be in a more soluble, more a bioavailable form that we can then absorb. So certainly, if we're getting a spring water and the TDS is high, so it might be over 100, sometimes even up to 300, 400, or 500, that means it's a hard water, which means it has a lot of inorganic minerals in it. Now, these are minerals that, again, will clog up the body, because the body is a filtration device. And these minerals are minerals that we can't break down. So a lot of issues I'm seeing out there at the moment is that a lot of issues are caused by the body becoming plugged. Calcification issues, which is just inorganic calcium, so calcium carbonate and limestone. Which in nature, a lot of the wild animals eventually die from. A lot of the conditions we see here in humans, and also in our pets and so on, which are which are not wild animals, we are checking out too early, because these are all conditions and health problems that we've created by what we eat and the lifestyle that we're living, the environment, all these sorts of things. But when you bypass all that and just go out to nature, okay, then these inorganic minerals take you down, like the hard calciums and so on. Eventually, you get arthritis and you die. So, conditions such as arthritis, okay, all these calcifications, joint problems, it's hard minerals within the joint. So calcium and all sorts of things are a big one. Iron's a big one. Sodium's a big one. Now, these are minerals that the body cannot utilize. Other conditions such as kidney stone formation, gallbladder stone formation, hardening of the arteries, which is all to do with heart attacks, dementia, Alzheimer's, all these problems within the brain. It's hardening of the brain. Psoriasis, hardening of the liver. All these conditions are all got a hardening component, and that's an organic mineral problem. Okay, so the benefits of spring water is that it's structured, so it can hold information. It has a lot of silica in it because, as I say, it's a virgin, youthful substance. Quite often it's called the fountain of youth. Funnily enough, fountain of youth. It's not the kitchen of youth. It's not the food of youth. It's a fountain. What comes out of a fountain? Water. Okay, water is the key for a lot of our health problems. Okay, one thing to note is alkaline water. Okay, so we're talking about the pH of the water here. So a neutral pH is 7. Anything above 7 is becoming alkaline. So if you're getting into 7.5 or more, 8 is becoming very alkaline, 8.5 and so on. Then you need to be careful what is making that water alkaline, because a lot of these alkaline waters have a very high total dissolved solid. So therefore they've got a lot of inorganic minerals in them. Okay, if that pH is up because of calcium carbonate, limestone, or sodium bicarbonate, there could be an issue in over a long period of using that water. But if it's magnesium that's increasing the alkalinity, then it's not so bad, because a lot of the health conditions are being caused by too much calcium and not enough magnesium. So then magnesium could be beneficial in regards to that alkaline water. So that's spring water. Now, the other water I want to talk about is distilled water. Okay, so we've talked about spring water, which is really the processing of water that is levitated back up from aquifers under the ground. Now, distilled water is this process where water gets vaporized because of the sun and goes up to the sky and goes through a filtration process where all inorganic minerals are actually removed. And then obviously the clouds fill up and it rains down, and that water that comes down as rainwater has a TDS of 0. No inorganic minerals whatsoever within it. Okay, and I'm kind of slowly leaning towards looking at distilled water as a really good water, because if a lot of our health problems are being caused because our body, our filtration device is becoming plugged by inorganic minerals, then we need to look at a water supply that has no minerals in it whatsoever, so therefore no inorganic minerals. And if we want to add minerals back to that water, we can add minerals that are organic, that are ionic, which makes it more bioavailable to the body. That is not going to clog the body. It's going to actually allow our body to uptake minerals a lot easier. And plus, it's going to help remove the other inorganic minerals which you already have in the body. Because remember, the water is a solvent. When you have water when you want the water to be a solvent, remove all inorganic minerals, all the hardening material in the body. You don't want to be adding more hardening material with that water that you're drinking. So the benefit of distilled water, of course, TDS of 0. No total dissolved solid of 0. No inorganic minerals are in the water. So you can essentially use it as the solvent in helping you remove all these calcification problems and hardening problems through inorganic minerals. One thing that it's not, though, is not raw, like virgin spring water. So whatever your situation, I feel like for the people out there that have got issues with inorganic minerals, like calcification problems, joint problems and so on, distilled water is probably the more beneficial water for you. Now, if you don't have those problems and you can get a spring water that's very low on total dissolved solids, then that water may benefit you. So I really want to give the option out to everyone that's watching this video and a bit more information about water, because water is vital to the health of this body and making it work more efficiently. Not food, water. So one thing about distilled water, though, you do not want to buy or drink distilled water from plastic. Okay? Because if a distilled water has no minerals in it, it's going to leach, it's going to try and feed off the minerals in the plastic that the bottle is being contained in. And quite often that's what happens when you drink the water. It tastes like plastic because it actually has absorbed plastic within the water. So if you are going to have distilled water, you want it in glass. Even for spring water, any water that you drink, you ideally want it in glass, or at least in a plastic that is food grade plastic, so it's not going to leach into the water. We should be treating our water like we treat our wine. You notice with wine, you know, when you buy wine, you don't buy it in plastic, do you? You buy it in glass bottles. Okay, and a lot of the times dark glass bottles. Why? Because light actually degrades it as well. So we want to be a lot more precious with our water. Water is so important. We want to be looking after it, so it needs to be bottled in water and glass. Another thing I'm doing here at Truly Holistic through my energy work is I'm transmuting I'm looking for inorganic minerals within people and energetically transmuting inorganic minerals back to organic. So which is really working well. But essentially in this video I wanted to talk about water and the differences between distilled water and spring water, and just the importance of high crystalline water, raw water, and getting away from tap water and this processed water, which really is not doing us any favors. So here at Truly Holistic, I do use tools here to intend minerals to change. So this is the sun ring. I'm just going to grab this other one. This is the neutralization ring. So I've got these two little rings, and what I quite often do with the water, you can use this ring here, which will remove any negativity of the water. So if you're worried about contaminants within the water, you place your water up on top of this ring, and you intend to remove all contaminants of the water. That might be chlorine, fluoride, anything you want to remove the water. You just let that sit over top of that ring for 10-15 seconds. You take it off that ring, and then you use the sun ring, which is a broadcaster of energy, and you intend within the water, you just sit it on top, you intend for that water to become structured and transmute any inorganic minerals within the water back to organic. Okay, so you can actually, at the energetic level, change the structure of your water. And remember, structured water, because it's structured, it's in formation, and it can hold information, so you can intend information within the water, will hold on to the information, or make a change energetically. So these rings here, if anyone's interested in these rings, let me know, and I can source you those rings. Great tools. I use those particular tools for personal use. These are great for personal use. I also use bigger size practitioner models here at Truly Holistic as well in my healing sessions. So I hope you've really learned something from this video. If you have any comments, please post below, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks.